Hello and welcome to Spectator TV Australia. I'm your host, online editor Alexandra Marshall. And today we are joined by director Joel Gilbert, who is coming to Australia to advertise and explain his new film, Trump, the Art of the Insult. Joel, welcome to the show.
Okay, great to be back. Thank you.
Look, Trump is an enormous topic. He's going to occupy many pages of history going forward. Why did you decide to focus in on his very sharp wit and humor?
Well, I did so because I think a lot of people did not understand where he comes from and his background to understand him as a politician. A lot of people assumed that he was just a real estate guy, and they did not really catch the fact that he really was an entertainment professional. He spent years having an Atlantic City casino. He was a boxing promoter. He bought Miss Universe, Miss America. He had a hit TV show for 15 years called The Apprentice. So he really was an entertainment guy, and he knew marketing very well, living a couple blocks from Madison Avenue in New York. So it's very unique among politicians that someone would have such a great understanding of marketing and how to communicate to the press and to the public. So that was something very unique that he brought to the table starting in 2016. And he was able to kind of bash his way through 17 primary opponents, as well as the media, all the way to the White House, because he uniquely had an understanding of advertising and marketing and how people react. And he's really continued with that great skill to this day.
Well, there is a famous phrase going around that the left can't meme. And most of this actually comes from the Trumpian era, where Trump has pretty much colonized the online world. I mean, that is where he's getting all of his young conservative voters for. Today's politicians are spending all their time and money trying to understand social media, and yet, of course, they're hopeless at it. They don't get it. Is Trump winning at social media, and is his humor coming through because of his aides and advisors, or do you think a lot of this comes from the man himself understanding the modern world?
Look, he really is a real authentic person. He's from Queens. He grew up working real estate jobs with his father for many years, often hanging out with construction workers. Those were the people that really understood him the best. So he's very authentic. He's not a lawyer, as most American presidential candidates are. So he's more of a real person. So I think he just brings that real experience with real people, and the authenticity is what people appreciate about him. Lawyers just struggle to understand how to do marketing and how to relate to people. So that's his great skill that I think he continues to be productive with today, and the way he communicates his policies and continues to fight off the press as well as the Democrat opponents.
Well, we will talk more about your video in just a second, your documentary. But before we do, Trump isn't just misunderstood with his insults slash humor. The world stage of all the experts and all the commentators and all his political peers, they don't appear to understand him either. I mean, when he was making jokes about taking over Canada, the king flew over to Canada to, I don't know, defend it. What's he going to do against Trump? Nothing. Ordinary people know that Trump is joking and that it is a political tool that he uses to negotiate his way down a deal. Why do you think it is that people just don't understand this new Trump?
I think the class of politicians in the world just really doesn't have experience with someone like Trump as an American politician who's a real person. They've always dealt with, Obama or Clinton or some of these guys that are lawyers that don't really have a good sense of humor and that don't know how to negotiate anything. Trump been negotiating since he was, a teenager, and he knows how to kind of, make a demand and put people on the spot and kind of see them sweat a little bit and see how they react. And then he comes in and swoops in and negotiates a deal that's favorable to himself. But absolutely, the media and other politicians just don't seem to have a sense of humor. When Trump says things and does things, it's obviously he's being ironic, he's being sarcastic, he's just trying to get a headline. and they take him seriously, I'm sure Trump is just sitting there in the White House laughing and laughing at how they behave.
Yeah, for one, he's been more successful in solving complex world problems than anybody else in the last 50 years, which shows that his approach is pretty reasonable. And two, I think he's actually playing a joke on them as well, because he's basically saying, you guys lie for a living. You never tell the truth. You go to elections, you promise things, you don't do them. He promises outrageous things. They take him seriously, and then he backtracks with a little smile and a wink and some kind of withering comment. Now, your preview of your documentary will be at the New South Wales State Parliament Theaterette. It's screening on Wednesday, February the 25th at 7 p.m. I'm
Right.
going to try and be there. I invite all of our spectator audience to go and try and be there. If you're in New South Wales, it will be great. Joel, will you be there?
I'll be there hosting the event. I'm going to introduce the film, talk a little bit about Trump. I actually worked against him in 2016. I was working on the Ted Cruz for President campaign. And
I'm
at the
sorry,
time-
Joel. That's the end of your interview. That's it.
Well,
Black line. Sorry. Gotta go.
my.
Just
No,
kidding.
Ted is a good guy, but at the time, we kind of thought that Trump would implode. We didn't really understand him either. We thought that he would just kind of self-destruct and that he really wasn't a serious politician, and he proved us all wrong. So uh, I can tell you some stories from the campaign that are very interesting, and people don't quite understand that Trump's campaign in 2016, it was just Trump and like two other people in his whole office. You know, Ted Cruz had like 100 people in his main office in Houston. He had chairmen all over the country in every county. Trump had nothing. It was just a great marketing skill that he would dominate the media with every single day, all day long, making phone calls from his office. So I can tell you a little bit about Trump. I'll introduce the film. I can tell you it is the funniest movie I've ever made and I've ever seen. I've watched this film with an audience many times, and people laugh from the beginning to the end. You'll never laugh so much as you will watching this film.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs.
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
And they said that wasn't politically correct. Who cares? You haven't been called. Go back to Univision. I think Jeb is a nice person. He's very low energy. I'm not used to that kind of a person.
So you can get tickets on Eventbrite if you just look up Trump, the Art of the Insult. It's only 20 Australian dollars. So I'll be there with John Ruddick, who's hosting us, and introduce the film, and then I'll do a Q&A afterwards. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
That would be John Ruddick of the Libertarian Party, who will be there too. And I do have your film was described as, this is the most entertaining political documentary ever. And if it features Trump, that's probably right. Now let's talk about insults, because Trump is uniquely good at not just cracking a joke, but pointing his observation at a political opponent and completely dismantling their entire reason for existing in the political game. My favorite is Bloomberg. If I've got the clip, I'll throw it up here.
Very little. I just think of little. You know, now he wants a box for the debates to stand on. Okay, it's okay. There's nothing wrong. You could be short.
Where Bloomberg was running against Trump in the first campaign, and he made a joke about Bloomberg needing a box because Bloomberg is short. And Trump did this great interview about this Bloomberg box, and I think they're even selling them on Amazon or something after. It was the best gag ever.
Why should he get a box to stand on, okay? He wants a box for the debate. Does that mean everyone else gets a box?
And that was the end of Bloomberg's career. It didn't matter that, you know, he threw a fortune at the campaign. One comment, one insult from Trump, and it was over. Is that power of humorous observation, shall we call it, Joel, underused in today's political game?
Yeah, absolutely. Trump has shown how just a little bit of creativity and a little bit edge of humor, you can dominate the news cycle and get like $100 million in free earned media just for giving someone a nickname. Jeb Bush, for example, in the 2016 campaign, he had about $120 million he'd raised from PACs, from public groups. And so the average person, you thought, well, Jeb Bush is okay, but he's got so much money, I guess he's the front runner. And Trump came right in and branded him, made up a name about him, called him, Jeb, and talked about his mother would come around. He'd make all these kind of taunting, humiliating jokes about Jeb Bush, and Jeb Bush just kind of fell apart. He couldn't handle it, and he ended up dropping out of the race. So Trump has that unique ability, and we show that in the film, how he branded every single one of his opponents in 2016. My guy, Ted Cruz, he called him Lion Ted Cruz. Rick Perry, he said, why does he wear, these glasses? Because people could see him, can see through the glasses. Bernie Sanders was, communist. Hillary was crooked Hillary. Everybody had a brand and a name, and he just rolled on from one to the other. So it's very, very funny what he did. And it is amazing that, so many other politicians don't understand the power of humor and the power of, taunting somebody, how it can just get you so much media coverage. And I think the public sees that as authentic and real, as opposed to these, kind of standard statements that politicians make and they know they don't really mean it.
And let's be clear, he's not just throwing, well, generally, he's not just throwing mean comments out. These are comments that point out a truth that other people in polite society won't say. And it's not just about individuals. Look what he did to Alaska with the whole, not Alaska, sorry, Greenland. He did Alaska earlier, but the latest one was Greenland with the dog sleds. And he was having a go at NATO, not being able to defend the territory against Russia. Now, Trump's point was that NATO has failed Greenland. Greenland is an open gate, basically, to a military threat against the US. And Trump was trying to get them to actually up their military defense and get serious about it. So he said, they've got one dog sled defending Greenland.
And Greenland, basically, their defense is 2 dog sleds. Do you know that? You know what their defense is? 2 dog sleds.
So what does NATO do? The French and the English, and they all get together and they say, well, look, they were very angry with you. So they sent like 2 guys and another dog sled, is what Trump was joking about it.
You know what Denmark did recently to boost up security in Greenland? They added 1 more dog sled.
And you know what? He wasn't far off. But that was an example of him using this power of insult. It can change geopolitics, Joel.
Yeah, well, there's always correct. There is always a small element of truth to what Trump is saying. So that's why I think some of his nicknames seem to catch on, and some of his policies kind of catch on. The dog sled. He's just very funny. He's also a New Yorker. A lot of people, if you haven't been in New York, you haven't spent a lot of time there. If you understand New York, you understand Trump a little bit better. He kind of came of age in the 70s when the mafia was pretty big there. He was friends with Roy Cohen, who was the mafia lawyer. Mobsters had a way of branding people with different funny names, like Fat Tony and Little Sal. So I think Trump kind of got that whole idea of branding people with names just from the whole New York culture. So if you understand the culture of New York, I think you can understand Trump a little better. But as I said at the beginning, he is an entertainment guy. He spent 20 years in the entertainment business, and he really understands how to reach people and how to command an audience.
So let me just ask you about you personally, because as you said, you weren't running on Trump's team originally. What
Correct.
is it about this topic that you went, yeah, I'm definitely going to put the effort into making a documentary about this? Is it just because you were sitting there endlessly laughing at Trump's jokes?
Well, I thought Trump was a fantastic subject, and I identified his ability to excel in the world of marketing. And we call it term, I don't know if you have this term in Australia, it's called earned media. Earned media is a term we use in American politics. It means free media. So instead of spending, $10 million to get your ad on the front page of the New York Times, if you just say something really interesting and funny, they'll give you that front page and they'll write about you. So Trump, we actually calculated he got about $4 billion in free earned media in the 2016 campaign just because he was being creative and funny. He did not need to raise all this money because he could command the media so much by saying and doing things that were entertaining and authentic. And the media just kind of fell for it. And once the campaign was over, especially the leftist media, I actually saw them on TV when Trump won. They said, "Oh, wow, I guess we shouldn't have given him so much coverage. We thought we were kind of hurting him by showing how ridiculous he was being, but it really helped him."
I noticed that the White House now has a billboard of sorts, which has got the awards for the fakest fake news and the most ridiculous of the fake news stories for the week. So that has all been turned on the journalists lately. Look, our political landscape in Australia is possibly one of the most boring in the world right now. And I don't mean that we're not in a huge amount of trouble. Our entire economy is collapsing. The third world appears to have arrived on our shores, and we've got a lot of problems. But the people in charge of Canberra are the dullest, dreariest cardboard cutouts in human history. I think they could take at least half a page out of Trump's book of insults, but they don't have enough humor or intelligence to make jokes. I mean, they sit there and they hiss at MAGA hats because they think they'll be infected by Trumpism. And please God, be infected by something. It's so dreary. So you've come here just on the eve of a leadership spill. We've got a new leader of the opposition for the Conservatives. What's your take on, like, you're going to address, I think it's Darling Harbour, Advance has got you coming to speak.
Yeah.
What's your take on Australia that you're walking into now?
Well, they've asked me to address a topic of judicial politicization that seems to be raising its head in Australia. We have it in the extreme in the United States, in that, for example, the Democrat Party really started appointing judges during Obama's term. So it's been going on almost 20 years. They actually appoint what we call activist judges. And the judge's role is not to be impartial and interpret the law as they're supposed to. Their job is to advance a political agenda for Democrats that they cannot achieve in Congress through voters, but to enact it through the courts, while also trying to stop an agenda of any Republican that came into office to delay their agenda and rule it unconstitutional. I mean, every day there's some ruling in the United States by some judge. There's 1,400 federal judges. So Trump literally cannot execute the office of President of the United States unless he gets 1,400 judges to all agree, because the Democrats will easily go to one of them, such as this Judge Brosberg is very well known. He just put an injunction, and he said Trump has to bring back 200 criminal illegal aliens that he deported to Venezuela because they didn't get a fair hearing. So this is a big problem, because it really, the idea of politicizing the judiciary erodes the entire concept of democracy. The judiciary is supposed to be an impartial referee to settle disputes, but increasingly in America, the Democrats, who can't get their agendas enacted through the voting system and through Congress, decided, well, let's just manipulate this third branch of government. So I've seen some trends in Australia that I'll be talking about where this is also starting to happen.
Oh, yeah. You'll notice when you come here and you'll work out that basically criminals are led off by woke judges. So if you have a certain ideology, you can pretty much do what you like. If you're a law-abiding citizen, you will be penalized for even the slightest infringement. But I have one final question for you, because we're almost out of time. There's this bizarre relationship going on in politics right now where we've got social media growing the new conservative movement, like the Trump politics, which has owned it, like Farage and Trumpism, and in Australia, like One Nation, which has just outpolled the Liberal and National parties together. We've got this race to ban social media from the left, which is weirdly being cheered on by the establishment right, to their detriment, but that's what they're doing. And then we've got figures like Trump and Farage and Pauline, and they're all in there making everyone laugh and getting everyone involved in building these new conservative movements. How do you think this is going to play out? Like, is laughter and humor the language of the new conservatives, and will it live long enough to displace the old politicians before it's all banned altogether and you can't crack a joke?
Well, we've gone through a big ordeal here in the United States. Don't forget, during the Biden years, the FBI pretty much took over Twitter and banned most conservatives, including Donald Trump, who lost his account. So we had tremendous suppression of freedom of speech by the FBI and the Biden administration, using their power to squelch the truth, including Facebook, the whole Hunter Biden laptop. You couldn't talk about the stolen election. You weren't allowed to talk about COVID and so on. I know in Australia you had similar things. So
yeah, we were sending you requests to censor ourselves. That's what we were doing.
So look, the left doesn't like freedom of speech because people make fun of and realize that their policies don't work. It's historically the case since the days of the Soviet Union. They control speech, they control information, because if the information is out there, then their failures come to light. So I think we're still in the middle of this battle. A lot of credit goes to Elon Musk for buying Twitter and kind of getting freedom of speech back online in America, but he's under attack throughout the world. They're trying to fine him in Europe. So I think we're still in the midst of this battle, and it's something we have to safeguard, because without freedom of speech, without the social media platforms, the left can force their narratives and their whole woke ideology on everybody, and there's almost nothing you can do about it.
Yes, you have to be pretty deranged to believe that climate change is going to end the world and then go and damage a Tesla car, which is supposedly going to save the world, just because you don't like free speech, which is what they are up to. Look, we're out of time. Would you like to tell people where they can find you when you're not here in Australia having a wonderful holiday in our country?
Yeah, I'll be there soon. Next week on the 17th, I'll be there for about 10 days. You can see my Twitter account, Twitter and X. It's Joel S. Gilbert. Joel S. Gilbert. I've got a lot of research going up there every day. And highway61ent.com is all my films. I'm a film producer, have many documentaries. And artoftheinsult.com. You can watch the trailer and go to Eventbrite to get a ticket. I'd love to see everybody at the Parliament House in Sydney on February 25.
Well, thank you so much, Joel, for joining us here today on Spectator TV.
Thank you.